And no stranger, it's been a minute since we last kicked. By the way, just got time, and I won't let you be this love. Don't let shy, moving my body.
Usually I
do this often, but since recruiting isn't an option, due to unusual rain and thunder,
baby, I wonder. Baby, I wonder.
Put your sweats
On me. I
I got the plug, I made the call. Talking late night, don't hesitate, no, don't you?
just say you will. Will come through and chill. Just say you will. Come through and chill. Hey everybody, welcome to Earth is School. What is up? Oh, hey Minna, how are you? Welcome you guys to Earth is School. I hope y'all were jamming with me. I'm always laughing at the way I be feeling this intro. Welcome. Okay, you said you'll be back later on. Okay. Yes, come back, listen to the replay. Come back and listen to the replay. It is still going to be a vibe. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll give some of you a few seconds to come in. Earth is school. Earth is school. Earth is school. Hashtag Earth is school. People are going to be saying, well, one thing is that people are already saying it. It's just not on the level that it's going to be. But I am always so excited to see when people hashtag Earth is school. Like, that is everything to me. Earth is school. If you are listening for the first time, I am your lovely host, De La Soul, and this is the Earth is School podcast. Earth is School is a podcast that I created from a many years, I should say, of this philosophy that Earth is School, that we all came here and there's levels to this thing, and we came here to learn and to grow. And so what better name but to call a place where I get to share my philosophies and my ideas and my thoughts that a lot of you guys were used to seeing me write, and so now I get to speak them. I like to break things down that are really complicated into simple terms here. So that is what you'll get at Earth is School. Every single day, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Before we begin, let's do our breathing. For those of you who don't know, we do this core breathing where we release anything that we were dealing with and holding on to from the day. So this is that circle to do that. And it's a really powerful technique that I use in other parts of my practice. And yeah, it's just a good thing to develop. It's a good habit to have to do this. My core is so strong because I've been doing this for over 2 years now. And my breathing is very controlled. So many benefits to this. All right, so I instruct you to breathe in. I'm going to have you push your navel to your back, and then we'll go from there. Okay, on 3, 1, 2, 3. Breathing in. Breathing in. Push your navel to your back. Up. Suck it up. Hold it. and release. Good deal, good deal. All right, so we do this twice. One more time. This one is with more strength. Okay, we're really going to dig in deep and breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Going in, pushing it in, sucking it in. Up, up, up. Squeeze it. Squeeze your core. Hold it a little bit longer. And release. Nice. Hey, Kawana. Actually, I needed to make you a moderator now, but I don't know how to do it now. Okay. So, you guys, today on Earth is School, we're going to talk about something that I've written a few times. For those of you who follow my Facebook, I've talked a lot about this thing that we say in the spiritual community or the spiritual collective. A lot of times, maybe outside of that too, but this is where I see it the most at. And people are proclaiming to themselves and telling others that they attract damaged people because they are healers. I think this is a really good subject to touch on because there is really this belief that we've developed in that type of, I don't know, in that world of natural healers or whatever. And it's just like, yeah, like, well, the reason why you're going through this with that person, it's because you attract damaged people. And this is like some of the worst words that you can say to somebody, you know, um, on one level. Okay, well, I'm going to break it down because it's not like because you are a healer you don't experience damaged people, and you're not meant to heal some of them. That is the truth. But you specifically attracting them because you are a healer and this is just your journey to like deal with damaged people, it's an illusion, and I'm going to break down how and why. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to see how to make somebody a moderator at the same time while I'm trying to do this show. Okay. Time. Okay. So, what exactly is a healer? Let's start there. What is a healer? So, a healer, by my definition, as a healer, there's a couple of different levels. People heal in so many different ways. On the surface level, healers are individuals who heal people physically, right? Of disalignments and diseases of the body, people that are either giving people cleanses or teaching them different methods and different techniques to heal themselves. That is one surface level way that someone is a healer. Other ways that people are healers, or another way that you can just tell if you're a healer or if someone else is, on a more of an unseen vibrational level, is that healers are people who have this light to them. So if you're a healer, then you have this light to you. And I mean that in the literal sense, even though us with our light, it's something inside of us that can see that light, and that light attracts you to the healer as someone who can heal you. Does that make sense? Even though it is not a physical thing that we're seeing, our higher self can see this light. You can feel it, I should say. You can feel it on this individual, and this person will make you feel comfortable sharing things with, sharing personal things that you probably wouldn't normally share. And if you are this healer, then you have experienced people just kind of pouring themselves out to you, and just you could be at the bus stop or just somebody at the store, or I mean, for me it's been like customer service reps, like just anybody. And we just end up creating this bond because they feel this safeness with me to share. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing when you have connected with the healer, and you feel that openness and safe being vulnerable. And it's a beautiful thing when you are a healer and you have that experience. Oh, I just remembered that I made a post about this one time, and I talked about not being upset. Like, don't be irritated with people that come and pour out to you. Be grateful that you have that light. Like, it's just now coming to me right now. Like, I wish I could remember exactly what I said, but that could fit into this episode as well, because it's all about, healers and damaged individuals. So there's different kinds. Like, some people don't necessarily heal with their words. They may heal with the how they care for others, their intentional ways. You can be dealing with some type of abandonment or neglect, and you can be connected with a healer. It can turn into someone that ends up being your partner or just your friend, and this person might not have all the words when you're venting to them or whatever, but they have the actions that help you heal. So when you think about it on a grand scale, I personally believe that the majority of us are healers. Now, there's some people that's just out here living by default and they ain't really doing nothing, and that's their own journey, right? But most of us are healing in some kind of way, even if it's not everybody. Like, you end up living your entire life, and it might be one or two people that you did help heal, and you don't even know how you did that. So on some level, I believe that the majority of us are healers. And then there's some of us that I describe that just have that light. And you most definitely are, like, your entire life, you're just living this journey of a healer. So the thing about healers attracting damaged people, the reason why it is this illusion that we've created is because everybody is damaged. Congratulations. Congratulations. Welcome to the world. Everybody is damaged on some level at some point in their life. Like, you cannot go through this entire life and you not have to accept something, have to let go of something, you not be hurt, you not have to heal from something. It's just like, there's just no way. There's no way. It's impossible. So if we're talking about damage being something that has to be repaired or healed, you really don't live this life without doing that. So that is everybody. So if healers attract damaged people, then what about, like, why is it that damaged people experience damaged people? Like, people that are non-healers experience damaged people. It's just all an illusion. We all have healing to do. And frankly, and you guys have heard me say this before, healing is a process that is really continuous, because as soon as you've healed from one thing, you have other things to heal from. It's not just going to be that one thing. You might be in the clear for a couple of months, for a couple of years. And then if we're talking about healing on by the definition that I really want, everyone to get here on Earth School, is that healing is forgiving, healing is acceptance, healing is letting go. So if we're talking about that true definition of healing, that could be from the most minute situation at work. It could be with one of your employees and something that they've said or done to you, into a broader scale. So it can happen anytime, all throughout the day. It's a continuous thing that we all need to experience. We all have to. So it's definitely not like that. And when you tell people, or when you believe that you attract damaged people, it kind of gives it gives yourself, and it gives the individual, if you're someone that's telling someone else that, it gives them this pass or this excuse. Y'all might not agree with this term, but this is the best way that I understand it. It's like, you can really develop this, like, super save a hoe mindset. Okay, like this Captain Save a Hoe mindset, where you feel like you have to save everybody, and you feel like this is your job, and you can turn into this punching bag. This is something that I've experienced, especially throughout my early 20s. I never heard of, this whole thing about being a healer, but I definitely always, like, even my childhood friends today, they're just like, you've always been the one. Like, of course you're coaching people. Like, you've always been coaching us. So I've always had felt like, well, since people are coming to me with their problems and I don't even know how I know the answer, then I'm supposed to help. Like I'm supposed to heal. Like this is what I'm supposed to do. And even if that is a part of your journey, that's one of your purposes, because we all have so many. Um, it's just not healthy for you to believe that because you have that as one of your purposes, you are attracting damaged people, because some people can really put you in positions where you need to disconnect from them, and it could be really dangerous. And if you're thinking, well, I got to stay in this connection because this is my duty, you can really get hurt like that. So I'm laughing at Smiley Coast laughing at me. I'm gonna save a hoe. Yes. Yes, I'm sorry, y'all. I have to say things the way that I can understand them, and I know a lot of y'all can understand that way too. So, yeah, man, this is a dangerous mindset. I feel like a lot of young people, a lot of teenagers, a lot of the youth live like a lot of years of their life, just like I described myself, thinking that this is what they're supposed to do. And it can really be dangerous when you are in a relationship and you think this. If you're someone that already has a soft spot, if you've done been through some things, and so you can really relate, or if you're an empath or something, and you can really feel what other people are going through, it's really easy for you to get into intimate relationships where you feel like you are supposed to heal this person. You feel like you are the only one who can save them. That's scary, especially if you can. Okay, that's a whole other thing. If you actually can, if you actually can help and heal them, but it's just not that time for that, or you just aren't, you've already done whatever you're supposed to do divinely, it can be really dangerous. So I think that healers should not believe that they attract damaged people, but you should believe that because you have this ability to heal in whichever unique way that you do that, sometimes more than one, you have to really be careful, because a healer is a server. Okay, a healer is a server. So when you're a server, then you know how to serve, like you're a server. So naturally the people that you love, you will want to serve them. Some people are not servers, some people are just takers. But if you're a healer, you're a server. This is a natural thing that you almost are incomplete if you don't serve. Like that's how deeply rooted in your purpose of healing that this is. So you got to really be careful with this. Like when I see spiritual people or just anyone making posts like this and sharing this kind of stuff on YouTube, I'm like, oh, it's so cringy, because it's like, no, like don't tell us that. Don't tell us that we attract. Like, no, that's not good. We attract damaged people. um, so technically, like I said, everyone at some point needs healing. And Earth is school. So you don't get to come through here, as I mentioned, without having to do some type of healing and some kind of forgiving. All of us are toxic in our own way. This is a very, I hate to use this term because I feel like this term is played out. We're going to have to come up with a new word. But this is a very narcissistic world. I know that we think on one level, like 10 years ago, we thought that only men were narcissistic. I really, like, just looking at the collective, it seems like we only connected male behavior to narcissistic behavior. So now we're kind of like broadening that spectrum, and we're like, okay, women are narcs too. Like, but the truth is that, and I'll do a whole episode on this. The truth is that each and every one of us, including myself, has narcissistic behavior. This is a narcissistic world. You cannot escape. And again, I don't like to use this term. I rather use hurt or toxic behavior, even though toxic is played out too. But it's just better than the way that we've overrated or overdone this narcissistic word. But that's why I think it's good to then graduate the concept of you're a narcissistic and you're a narc, and you're not, graduate that to this is a narcissistic world. So then you understand that we are raising narcissistic people. We are being parented by narcissistic people. We are in love with them. We are mating them and rating them and baiting them and dating them. Like that's it on so many levels, because we all have narcissistic traits. You can't be around narcissistic people and then not like develop some of those traits. You almost have to get on that level without even knowing. You end up developing some of those behaviors. Not to mention that you were raised by some people. You were definitely raised by parents that have narcissistic traits. It's not even a diss. This is just the word. That's why I don't like the word, because it's really just how the world is. It's not even like, I was going to give a far-fetched example, but yeah. It's just like some things are just like how they are. Like it's like the way that I think of homeschooling. Like I don't even like the term homeschooling, because to me, I'm just raising my kids. Like, the term for it is extra. I guess we need it. I guess we have to label it, but I've always just been like, I'm just raising them. Like, of course I'm going to teach them. They're my kids, right? Even if you send your kids off to school, are you not teaching them at home? I know that some of us aren't, but that is what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to be teaching them at home. Kids shouldn't go back to school and the teachers have to, do their whole life over again with the kids, because for the last 3 or 4 months, they weren't doing anything. So this totally different subject, but same concept on how I'm explaining the way that this world is so narcissistic. We shouldn't even be using the word narcissistic. It's just the world. It's just the way that it is. We just all have these behaviors. So you cannot be the one that is attracting this kind of behavior when all of us have it at some point on some level. Hopefully you acknowledge it, you admit it, and you heal. Use your inner dialogue. Am I being narcissistic? Am I being toxic? Am I being possessive, controlling, those kind of things? But all of us do it. I think the more that we grasp the concept of this, it can get a little easier for us, because children are narcissistic. Yes, children at their very young ages, they have narcissistic traits. It's true. And I know we don't want to look at it that way because they're innocent. But this is a narcissistic world. So Earth is full of damaged people. and healing is constant. Healing is constant. Ooh, what time is it? Ooh, y'all, this might be a 30-minute show. I'm going to be so excited if I stay under this time, because we're going to end this in a minute. So like I mentioned, healing being constant, healing being forever. And the last concept that I wanted to mention when it comes to the false narrative that healers attract damaged people is that there are no mistakes here. I know you guys hear me say this all the time, like almost every episode. But it's really important that if you can grasp what Earth is School is, not this show, but Earth, that it is school, then it's really important for you to also connect the dots with the fact that nothing is a mistake. So if you are experiencing a damaged person, if you are experiencing narcissistic behavioral people, damaged, toxic people, one after the other, it's not something that you're doing. Like, it's not something that you're doing. It's just that that's what it is. Now, granted, as you are healing yourself and you are getting better at discerning and judging, judging on the level that we are supposed to do, then this type of experience with toxic behavioral people, it should be spread out. Like, I'm not saying that just one after the other. I'm definitely not saying that you should be experiencing this with all your friends and things like that. But I am saying that there are no mistakes. So it's like when I hear this or when I see this whole like, oh, well, you attract damaged people, it's almost like a chastising. It's almost like a, look like you need to change, what you're doing. Now, we're not talking about intimate relationships. When it comes to your intimate relationships, often that is something that you're attracting, but it's because of where you are at the time. It's so much deeper than that. Like it's deep like your body. We can go through so many levels of what that really means, because it has to do with the level that you're on. Of course, you're going to attract someone damaged if you're not loving yourself. If you're, at whatever age you are, and you done been through some stuff and you haven't healed, and you're loving someone else more than you love yourself, then you are going to have a toxic connection, right? So not on any of these levels. I'm just speaking of I'm just speaking in a general form, in how it's not a chastising situation for you to experience damaged people. It's nothing, because it is just what we are. Like, we're just putting all these labels and all these things on it, like humans do. We overcomplicate so many things, but don't even look at it like that. If Like, I guarantee you that if you don't even look at it like that, you will experience less damaged people. Like, that's how much we create our own realities. If you truly believe that this is just a part of your purpose to just experience a bunch of toxic people, then of course you are, because that's what you believe. So you're right. Anything that you believe, you're absolutely right. That's the power of the subconscious. Anything you believe, absolutely. If you tell me, I believe that I'm ugly, I believe that I'm not going to make it, I can't argue with you. I can't argue with you, because that's what you see, right? So if you believe that you attract damaged people, then you will. But if you understand that we are on this earth, and adults are really messed up. That's the truth. Adults have failed. Okay, we failed every generation, and on the same level, we don't fail. It's all what is meant to be. Okay, so it's not anything like that. It just is what it is. Let me see this. Are children taught narc ways? Are they learned, or are they born narcs? Ooh, this is a really good question. I believe both. I believe both. I believe that children are taught narcissistic ways from their parents and their environment. And then I also believe that there is this thing where, like, I like to say that the adults that we complain about are children who weren't corrected. And when I say that, I don't mean discipline, because when I say that, people will be like, "Oh, we was corrected, we was whooped," and da, 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 da. I don't mean disciplined. I mean literally corrected. Like, hey, this is the perfect example of a narcissistic behavior being natural for children, where if your child, let's say, I'm trying to think of the earliest age where you would even have this scenario. Maybe if you have your kids um, doing chores, or it doesn't have to be doing chores, even just telling them to do something as early as like 8 and 9 or something. And if you're telling them to do something and then they're not doing it, and then you become upset because they're not doing it, doesn't mean that you have to be, being toxic and yelling and stuff, but you're upset. Maybe you're kind of griping at them, and you're just, you're talking a lot and you're telling them, and then they have an attitude. They become angry or upset or irritated because you are expressing your disappointment in them not listening to you. So in adult form, what this looks like is, you are doing this thing to me, and I am trying to tell it to you, and yeah, I'm frustrated, but now, because I'm mad or I'm sad, you're matching my anger and my frustration. So again, adults that we complain about are children that have not been corrected. So I see this a lot in young children, and I don't see that adults even are aware enough to point this out. This is our job. Okay, hey, wait a minute. I understand that you're upset because you're probably tired of hearing me talk. Rightfully so. You probably want me to shut up. I get it. But I am also really overwhelmed and overstimulated with having to repeat myself. So I mean, there's other solutions, and we can get into that on another episode. But there's really a thing where children learn at a really young age to match that. And really what you could do is bring it to their awareness that you can't get upset because I'm upset from something that you knew that you were supposed to do. I have a right to be upset. The reality is that in any relationship, the person has a right to be upset. It doesn't mean that they have, you have to be damaging, but that's a relationship. And so that was just an example. There's many more that I, probably not on top of my head right now, but I do believe that it is both. And if I were to measure it, I believe that children learn it more than it is natural. But the reason I say both is because there are some things that just come out naturally, and maybe it just happens because, I mean, my philosophy would honestly be because we're humans and we came here to learn. So, the beginning of, you might not realize that you need to learn to change a behavior until you're in your early 20s. But a lot of times that behavior, if you look back, you've been doing that since you were 6 years old, since you were 10 years old. You've been feeling entitled, or, you've been controlling and possessive, or, maybe it started off with you not sharing your toys and maybe no one corrected you. So things like that. Most definitely, I believe that it is both. Okay, guys. So if you have any more questions, or any things that you want to share, look at your girl. It's 31 minutes. And that really concludes what I wanted to share. Let me make sure. Yes, there's no mistakes. Everything is happening the way it is supposed to. Uh-oh. In my personal experience, narcs are excellent liars. I believe it starts in the home with parents. Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, children are taught to create tales and become very good storytellers. Most definitely, I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that on some level, for sure. That children learn to lie there. I mean, learn to lie through that way. I believe that there's probably a lot of people that have, gotten into the habit of lying from that. And then there are the children who have not been, their parents weren't big on those things, and they just happen to be liars. and sometimes that's because, I mean, really, let's think about what a liar is from an early age. Someone who doesn't want to get caught, at least on one scale. This is why this is like, I don't even think that this could be one answer, because sometimes children are natural storytellers as well, just based off of them vibrating on their alpha brainwave. They're always on the right side of their brain, so their imagination is wild. Whether, I mean, if their parents end up implementing these lies that normally you don't find out until later, but if their parents do end up lying to them, then it would definitely just, grow. It would definitely just grow and validate that habit. But there is so many levels, and a lot of times children are liars because they don't want to be caught. And if you're not talking to your children about keeping it 100, like, my kids could probably write a book when they get older. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them started creating content, or write a book about being real, because I talk to them so much. I talk to them so much about just being honest, and I use it in so many different ways, like when they are lying or wanting to lie, because it's the easiest way to get them to tell the truth. Like, just keep it real. It's just better. It shortens down the time frame of me having to come up with all these other things, and now we're sitting here for an hour trying to fine tooth comb through something that you could have just kept it 100. And then I'm gonna show you that when you keep it real, it's less consequences from that. So I think that a lot of times we don't do that. Again, the adults that we complain about are the children that were not corrected. So if you got a woman or a man, because women be lying, that's a whole nother episode. We be lying, y'all, and we know that men do too. So if you have a woman or a man that is a liar, and, like, I'm talking about like that adult that just be lying for stupid stuff. Like, why did you just come in this house and make that up? Like, why did you just do that? They probably were doing that when they were really young and they were not corrected. it was not brought to their awareness and broken down in a healthy way. So now they're just narcissistic liars. Kawana says, hey, Smiley, I can still hear you. Might want to leave out and come back. Sophia, I can't. Oh, okay. You said I can still hear. Okay. I'm like, wait, what's happening? I think it's important to always, my bad, the comment move. I think it's important to always speak the truth to your children. I believe so too. Most definitely. I think that with our new generation of parents that are considering these things, I mean, think about how much things are changing in parenting. The world is really going to be a different place over the next 20 something odd years, because going back from maybe starting in my time, my 80s babies time, I was born in 89. So maybe like I could have been like the last generation of parents that were just really, really, really toxic. Like really like, I'm beating you because I love you. And I am, the way that our feelings were not considered, the way that there was this really unrealistic approach to parenting. Like we've had this thing of like wanting, like adults want to look like these innocent, perfect, end all, know all beings to their children. And I think that we all know that you get to a certain age and all that is shattered. Sometimes it's early on, sometimes it's a little later, and you're like, you're really not even that smart. Like you're really not even, like, you really don't know everything. Like when it comes to your parents. And so absolutely, I believe that homeschooling does that on another level. There is a certain level of realness that you are forced to go into when you are your children's primary, like main, like for real teacher. Because you don't get to, it's different even when you're helping them with homework, you can kind of play it off a little bit because, you just helping them with homework. But when you got to create the curriculum, when you got to be like, okay, I really want y'all to learn this, but I don't even know it. So let's come together and teach each other. Then it's a lot of ego that is dropped. And there's so much truth that comes through when ego is dropped. Like that's the, ego is the opposite of, or yeah, it's on the same level of lying as the opposite of truth. So I truly believe that too. Always keeping it real. Okay, good. I'm glad you can hear. Have you seen the rise in children unaliving their parents? Not sure if they are just reporting it more or if something else is happening. No. And I hate to ask, but are we talking about a certain ethnicity group? Like, I mean, I know things have changed now. It used to be stuff we'd be like, okay, we know exactly who was doing that. But it ain't really like that no more. No, anytime, most of the times when I see that, the majority, it's always, a certain group of people. But I mean, Smiley Coat says, no, I have not. I mean, I know we're not supposed, this is not the topic, but there's a lot of things, because over here in Africa, I debated with someone before. I even had to go look up, I guess I should be saying unaliving, because I seen that you're not supposed to say that on the live or whatever. I went to go look up numbers here in Senegal for that, because it's almost like a taboo topic and subject, because it rarely happens here compared to the States. Like, as far as yourself, unaliving yourself. So most definitely not with your parents either. But I know for us, it's very common. Of course, this dog is just always coming through in the back of the show now. I think the parents were narcs and the children took them out of here. Oh, man. Wow. No, and that's wild. And his brothers are Hispanic, those twin black girls. Oh, wow. Yeah, I've been seeing all kind of crazy stuff. And sometimes it's like that. And sometimes, people just end up, it's so many different levels on how that can happen. It could be some type of energy and spirit onto them. I mean, because it got to take you up. Like, come on, like doing that to taking your parents' life is something has taken over you. Actually, didn't that just happen with like a famous player? Is that what you was talking about? That just happened with somebody famous, right? And he like went to Jamaica or somewhere and he was like gone. Like they found her body. I think it was in Texas. It just happened like 2 weeks ago or something. Maybe I'm messing up my time, but it was definitely in the last month. And it's a grown man and he ended up doing that. And he was like, I guess he was trying to say that he thought that they were lying when they reported that his mom that they had found her body and stuff, but he was like on live. It was just very suspicious. Like he clearly did it. But I mean, he didn't have his right mind though. Like you could tell the way he was speaking about, I mean, the way he was talking on live and stuff, you can tell that he didn't have his right mind. Sometimes people really, spirits take over them, and that comes from, being damaged and other things. You're open to receive that. Dealing with a lot of hurt. Yeah, a basketball player. Or okay, you said NFL. Yeah, that was wild. I had to tune out of it. Like sometimes energy is just like, okay, I'm like, okay, I got the gist of the story, but that's just too deep for me. Seriously, it was just too much. And really the sad part that was really getting me of it was the brother, like seeing that he wasn't in his right mind, and the way he was like trying to convince the world that he was. I was just like, dang, like what happened to this brother? I seen some people talking about the concussion thing that happened with football players, and I was just like, dang, man, this is so sad. He probably really loved his mom. Yeah, exactly. He was going through something mentally. Yeah, there's so many levels and reasons. But yes, you guys, we are in a damaged people world, and we have to accept that and understand that. It's why we need to be careful. People be out here lying. We be out here capping and acting like we're somebody that we're not, giving off a completely different thing than what we are. Looking real cute, being successful. I'm naming these things because I feel like when we think about people being damaged, we think that somebody that's really beautiful, somebody that is, successful financially, like there is unconscious what do you call this? Like we put people in categories anyway, but we have these unconscious ideas of like what it looks like if this person could be a liar or if they could be, very unintentional or damaging or whatever. And none of that is true. Like it doesn't matter what you look like, who you are, where you from, what you do, how you be, how you talk. Nothing matters. It just is what it is. And people be on different levels. You could be someone who was a really bad like liar and really deceitful and jealous, and then you could change. It can be someone that is no longer like that anymore. That's why it's just you got to keep that open. It's not something personal. You don't attract it. We just live here amongst it, and we are it. That's it. Narcissism, undiagnosed or untreated mental illness. I think that I think that I think all of that is there. I don't think that okay, let me see, because there's narcissistic behavior and traits, and then there is the label that you can literally diagnose someone as being narcissistic. And those are like the different levels of narcissism. And that you can call that a mental illness because it's something that has to do with the mind. Like really by definition, it's, it's a mind thing. And for people that are like, if you can fully be categorized as narcissistic, there are levels of not turning back from that. Like there are levels of, not everyone can be healed from that. I do believe that because we all have the traits anyway, that there's, people can reverse that. But I mean, you got to do the work anyway. You can't, nobody can do that for you. So if you're in denial, it's not happening. My adult sibling has all the traits of a narc. She was diagnosed bipolar as a child, but never received any treatment or meds. Oh man, that's horrible. I think a lot of kids are diagnosed as bipolar from starting off with being diagnosed with ADHD, and then they're neglected, and it just kind of spirals from there. True narcissists are usually born that way or have experienced extreme trauma. Absolutely. Absolutely. And people don't think that you could be born into this, but you can. We bring on things from our parents, from past lives, and from our parents. From I mean, it sounds crazy, but almost genetically. Like science wouldn't say that necessarily, or maybe science does say that. I mean, people, you can meet a child that had never met their dad or their mom. You could know their mom or their dad, and they had never met them, and they're walking like them, they have behaviors like them, they're talking like them. How is that so? I definitely believe that. And yes, extreme trauma, I think that's even more common. Like extreme trauma is will trigger narcissism because it's just damaged behavior, and that's where we get it from. We get it from our trauma, from our, neglect, abandonment, abuse, the different forms of abuse. That's where we develop those kind of traits. And that's how. She was in the first grade and they wanted to help her, but Caribbean mom refused to help. She didn't believe the diagnosis. Oh man. Wow. And so young. This black doctor, Miss Burke, stated that it was no such thing as ADHD. It's just trauma. Yeah, and Dr. Umar calls it what is it? I forgot the way he words it, but it's like absent daddy, not syndrome, but basically the child needs a dad. I forgot the way he worded it. And I mean, it's kind of like a play on words because ADHD is a thing. Like it is the behavior of ADHD, like being having attention deficiency is a real thing. It's a, we couldn't necessarily say that there's no such thing, but we can say that that it's caused by, I mean, if on in the most basic terms, having attention issues can very well come from not getting attention. A lot of children who suffer from ADHD or are diagnosed at a young age are children that are neglected or that have been. But I mean, it's so many levels to it, though. I definitely believe that trauma plays a part often. It's sad how many parents neglect mental health. Yes, that's one thing I am really grateful for. Seeing as us as a collective, how we're changing. With the gentle parenting and all this, like we're really changing this. Me and my father was having a conversation about this not long ago, and he was like, you guys are really, y'all really doing something different. He was like, you guys are really y'all talking a lot about this mental health thing. Y'all are acknowledging it in the kids. Like this is new. And he was like, I learned a new word from y'all. He was like, it's this new word, and I'm gonna start using it. It's called what did he say? I think he said the word trigger. I think he was like, this is my trigger thing. Like this is what triggers me. Yeah. That's what he was saying. He had me cracking up. I was like, oh my God. Because for us, it's like normal now. He's like, yeah. Now I'm like, okay, this triggered me. This is what triggered me. So it's just so funny to hear that, because it definitely is a big difference from how they used to do it. Like we are in our mental health bag, okay? Yes, I love Dr. Umar too. He is hilarious. But that man, if you go back and look at some of his old videos when he first started, man, he was spitting all kind of facts. Yes, my mom sent us all the way at 4, 5, and 6 to live with her sister. Wow, in Barbados for years. She was 4, I was 5, and we didn't know them. Oh my goodness. Ooh, that's so deep. Wow. That's definitely going to cause some neglect and some abandonment. There's a difference between a chemical imbalance and overdiagnosis. Most definitely, I agree with that. Most definitely, there is. That's why this subject is so deep. I got to do an episode on ADHD and these different prison pipeline diagnoses that we be allowing them to give our kids. I mean, it's good to acknowledge, it's good to know if your child has those symptoms of anything, but it is a thing. Like, I have seen it with my very own eyes, up close and personal, to allow our kids to be diagnosed by the system. It really is a prison pipeline, and they'll hold them back. They'll give them the meds that stuff like Ritalin that most definitely causes unaliving in really young children as young as 6 and 7 that have taken their own lives from off of that medication. It's just so many levels. Living in Senegal, how do you feel like people address mental health there? My people, my parents are from Senegal, so I wonder if things have changed. Yeah, so this was a good debate. I need to write this down because me and Kayla can talk about this. This is a really good conversation for me to have. I had this conversation with another friend, and I don't think that they acknowledge it. I think that most of Africa doesn't. And hold on, because I'm really making a note. Yeah, like it's crazy. This debate is deep. Like, I mean, I have a friend that we have debated this a couple of times, because he's like, in America, y'all go through all of this, like y'all go through all of that. Like, this is what, y'all need all of those counselors and those therapists, because look at what y'all go through with so many levels. For us, he's like, they're surrounded by water, and they have, the beautiful sun, they have support, they have community. And on so many levels, I can agree with that. But then it's like, you're still a human being, though. And I still have seen where people have to hide themselves in parts of them and have to be a certain construct way, and where the moms will like move off to France or Europe somewhere. There's neglect and abandonment there, or the fathers will have a lot of children with other women, and there's neglect, and like there's still like it's still happening. Like, stuff is still happening here. So despite the community and the sun and the breeze and whatever else does help you with coping with those things, there's just no way that you're not being damaged. Like, it's just like, you can see it in the way that people behave, the way that people have this another level of attachment. Here you can see it in a lot of different ways: possession and attachment. So yeah, I think that it is not addressed. I think that Africa has like another maybe 10 years or so before and I know you asked me about Senegal specifically, so I'm speaking on that too. But just in general, I think that the majority of the continent has some years to go. I think that we're still like very much in the old school here, very much, years behind where we were. Like, there ain't really like, gentle parenting is not a thing here yet. Not to say that they're not gentle, but I'm just saying, like, that's a concept that They're not really talking about mental health. They're not really doing like counselors and stuff as much, not near as much. Right? Yes, my dad is so funny. He's like, what is the word? Trigger. That's what it is. Yeah, I'm gonna start using that. Oh my God. This is a whole episode for sure. Don't even get me started on overly diagnosing autism and misdiagnosing, the whole misconception of that. Yes, I agree with Dr. Umar. Go hard on the system wanting to put kids on meds. Yes. You know what? It's crazy because I actually have a friend here. This was crazy. I want to get T John in a video because he has a really good philosophies and things to say too. And he is he's Senegalese, but he is very much into American culture. Like a lot of the rap music and our hip hop music, I wouldn't even know of today if it wasn't for T-John. And one day we had a conversation. He was flipping out about this whole ADHD thing and that whole label thing. He was like, he was like, I found this dude online. His name is Dr. Umar. And he was talking about how y'all do this thing in y'all schools where the kids would be really young and y'all will like diagnose them with this thing. He's like, what is it? It's like ADHD. I'm like, yeah, it's ADHD. He's like, yeah. And they'll diagnose the kids and they'll put them on this medication and they'll like hold them back. And he was saying like the kids are like not even really ADHD. And like he was flipping out. He couldn't believe that this was a thing. And it made me be like, wow, because I'm so used to that. Like I know that world. Like that's a normal thing. So just to see the concept of somebody being like, what? Like y'all are diagnosing kids for mental illness at that age? Like he's like, we don't have that here. He's like, we've never even heard of that. And I was just like, wow, like what a different world. What a different world. Because the same thing happened to my little sister. And I remember seeing this take a toll on her. I remember when she was diagnosed in elementary. I remember her already being the oldest person, the oldest kid in elementary. And then they diagnosed her there and they held her back. And then by the time that like she's a year younger than me, sometimes we almost damn near the same age. Like that's how close we are in age. And my sister we never even got to go to the same school. Like that's how much they held her back. But my mom didn't know any better and she allowed them to diagnose her. She didn't put her on the meds, but and she also is diagnosed with bipolar. And I just watched it happen. It's the saddest thing. My sister is also like how Dr. Umar talks about the prison pipeline being that diagnosis. It's him and I think Dr. Frances Cress Wilson and somebody else. It's another sister that really used to go in about this. And she teaches parents how to homeschool. I mean, she might be an elder now. I mean, she might be passed away now. She was an elder years ago talking about this, but just talking about that prison pipeline and how it starts with the diagnosis of this. And what I seen in my sister is so crazy. I was like 13, 14, and I was watching this happen. And I would be trying to tell my mom, like, look, like, something's gotta happen with her in the school because what will happen is that, especially if you're a child with talent and charisma or character, like you don't want to be in these slow classes that they have you in. You're tired of being held back. You don't want to be with the slow kids. And then it's like, and I shouldn't say it like that, but that's the way that we would say it back in high school. Back in school, it would be like, you got me in these slow classes, and and it would just be like she would feel like she would feel as if, I mean, what it was like she was being held back and she would be made fun of. So it started off with bullying, like her, friends would bully her because she was so big in the school. And then it went from there to, by the time it was time for her to get into, oh, she was in elementary during that time. So by the time it was time for her to go to middle school, she was like, F this, like, look, like I'm fully developed. I ain't about to be having y'all make fun of me because you guys are putting me in these, these classes where the children are challenged and all these different things. And I know that I don't belong in there. So it went from there to her really just showing out and just being like, well, the only way for me to fit in is I got to do this and I got to be this way. And yeah, it just from there, it turned into a lot. But I just believe that that is a common thing that happens. Yeah, it's so sad. I'll have to have my sister on to tell her story because I don't even want to share, the things that took place after that. But it started off with her being diagnosed and with no one paying attention. It could have been, she could have had some attention, which really these children that have attention issues are really spiritually connected, really creative children. And a lot of times ADHD children are children who are so smart that they get work done before everyone else. So they don't got nothing else to do. Like the work is too easy. And they just sitting in class waiting and they just end up becoming class clowns and, all these other things. So that could have been the case. And she just needed a little bit more attention. She just needed someone to spend more time with her as far as learning and stuff. So yes, you guys, I appreciate you guys for interacting and sharing. It's at an hour now, but I did do good because I was almost off at 31 minutes, okay? So I thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please hit that thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up. Share, share, share if you feel like this episode was helpful and useful. If you feel like someone could use this. And I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. You can hit the super thanks button, all that good stuff. Show your girl some love. Show YouTube that Earth is School needs to be the number one live podcast, daily live podcast on YouTube. You're so welcome. You guys are so welcome. All right. Tune in tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget that Earth is school. All right. Peace out.